going over charts a little bit more, it's important to think about the case interview in kind of an hourglass structure. The case starts out with some broad problem like profitability or market entry. And then you have a lot of factors up here, and then you start getting more specific, and down here is your decision point. This is really where the case is solved. Maybe up here you're asking for the right question, you're asking for the right information, you want to think about price and quantity information, you might want segment information, but here's where you're starting to get into something more specific, and then right down here in your decision point, you're going to have something like product A, product B, product C, and you're going to realize that the profitability for each is, this is the best in terms of profit per unit, something like that. But there's going to be some decision point, and I would think about it in terms of a least common denominator. That's what you're really going for. That's how you make a decision. You're not going to make a decision between A, B, and C just purely based on high-level revenue if you're thinking about profit. You're not going to make a decision between A, B, and C purely on the number of units sold. You're going to have to compare each of these in some type of reasonable decision point unit like profit, and they're going to have to be all in the same units. So you might get number of units sold for C, you might get price changes for A, and you might get, total revenue for B. In order for you to answer this question, you're going to have to get all of these on the same page in order to answer that profitability question. So I think this is a really important analogy. You want to get everything down into some very key decision point, and once you get that decision point, like you realize that between A, B, and C, B has the best profitability per unit, then you can start expanding and saying what that means for the whole company. You might say, the profit per unit of B is $10. Therefore, I know that I sell 100 units of B. Therefore, what I can do is I can grow my profitability by $1,000, assuming this was 100 million, something more reasonable, $100 million over the next, year. So I started with a broad profitability question. I looked at I knew what type of information I needed. I explored one specific decision unit like profitability per unit, and then I expanded that out and saying what it meant for the broader company. But usually up here is where the charts come in. The charts will usually be something a little bit more complicated than just price times quantity. You'll get several different units, some at a very broad level, some at a very specific level, and you need to get them all on a least common denominator. This is the key. This is how you solve a case. You get it to some common unit, compare them, prioritize, make a decision, and then expand and say what that means for the broader company. Keep this analogy in mind when you're solving a case. It helps answer the question of what can I do with this information in order to solve the case.